welcome to Kinloch's Corner. Today I am going to be making candles out of old wax. So I'll show you a few essentials and then I'll show you how to get it done. Okay, so I've got my pot filled with water and I've just got my little guy sitting in there. There was some old wax from before, that light blue that you can see. I'm just going to leave it. It'll be fine. And now I'm going to start preparing by getting these guys warmed up so I can get the wax poured out of them. 250 should do it. So around 250. I've done it a little bit at a lower temperature, that also works. You just want something that's going to warm up this wax, and it'll actually warm it up and pull it off the sides as well. So this will be a nice clean jar when I'm done that I can reuse. Alright, so let's take a look. I have electric, so I have about half or less, so that'd be like a low heat. You don't want this water to really be boiling. You just want it to be hot enough that it'll get your wax nice and liquid like that. Also inside the oven, you can see how these guys are going. They're starting to melt down. I'm just going to let them keep going until they're all completely liquefied, and then we'll pull them out and I'll put that right into the new mold. So they've been going at 250 for about, I'd say about 10-15 minutes so far. Okay, so now I'm ready to start getting these wicks put in and getting a little bit of wax poured in the bottom. So I'm going to grab my wax, it's all melted, and this is just my beginner wax. I use to secure these wicks to the bottom inside. Okay, and I'm going to show you, I have a couple different ways that I do this. So the first way, and you see these have little holes in them. So if you're going to buy these, you have to worry, I put it in the tin foil because otherwise it'll leak all over the counter. Same thing if you're using one of these kind of jars. This one's not clean, I'm not going to actually use it, but you need something that's going to get this stuck into the bottom so that the wick isn't just floating around as the wax is cooling. So I've tried a bunch of different ways. Here's the first one. I'm just going to show you. I'll do it in the can. Okay, I'm going to pour a tiny little bit of wax down into it, like a really little bit, just like that much, and then I'm trying to get the bottom of this. I have to flatten them out, and I want to get the bottom just right in the middle. And you just do your very best because you really want it to be centered, otherwise when the candle starts to melt and burn, it'll only burn to one side and then you'll get something like this. See, if you look at these candles, this one was just slightly off center, so it burned that way. This one was pretty good, but anywhere where there's a side like this means it was not perfectly centered. And sometimes it'll give the candle a shorter life, like this one. So, but for the most part, I get them pretty straight. It's nice when they burn. Pretty gratifying to get it all the way to the bottom. Alright, so there's that can. But I'm going to show you the trick that I like the best. You get this blue sticky tack, because then you don't have to wait for the wax to dry. You just take the tiniest little bit and you roll it between your fingers, make a little ball out of it. See, this is how they come. They're folded up, so you just want to open it up really gently. You want to keep that wick as straight as possible. And I just put some of that blue tack right on there. And then I go to where the circle is, where the little hole is punched out. My repurposed chopsticks from China Buffet. And I press it right over that hole, because I know that is perfectly centered. And I just push it down. And now I can do a full first pour. And when I say first pour, I mean that first pour, right? Each one is a different pour. I wait till it dries a little bit, and then or cools a little bit, and then I put a new one on. So with this can, there's just going to be a little light blue section at the bottom. I can do a little bit more. Hopefully I don't mess up what I just did. But you want to make sure you do not pour it along the sides, because that wax will show. Okay, so you can take a peek in there. I don't know if you can see it or not. I didn't get any on the sides, and it's right in the center. Now it'll be a nice little rim all around. So for this one, I'm going to pour a little bit more. Now that I have my wick secured, right down the center, because it's better for you to get some of this wax that you're pouring onto the wick than onto the side. Not like the end of the world, but if it gets on the side, and that'll always want to fall over. So you just want to have an old fork, an old chopstick, an old plastic spoon, and just keep it right in the center as best you can. I try to go both ways sometimes too, so that it doesn't end up sliding when I'm not looking at it. And that should be good. Okay, so now I'm going to take this monster. You can see that there's a label on the bottom, there's paint all around it. I'm going to put it right in this pot. It's going to take a little bit longer to melt down, but I'm going to show you how I get all the garbage out of there and still use the wax that's inside. Go back in the double boiler it goes, and we'll check in with you when it's all melted down. Okay, so now my wax is melted inside here. You can see it ended up being kind of just like a brown color. I'm going to pull it out. And I'm going to make it be my base. So I've already put my sticky tack on my wick here and secured it to the bottom. And I'm pouring it in, not completely upside down, because you see all the leftover gunk that's in here? I don't want that in the new candle. So if you just pour slowly, that'll go in there. I'll deal with that wick in a second, because what I want to do now is I need to clean out this jar. One thing I can do actually is our old toilet paper roll. This is our little fire starters. I just use, like if I blow my nose, I just stuff the Kleenex in there. I don't know if anyone thinks that's gross or not. But then when I have leftover wax, I just pour it in. And then I'll do it on the other side whenever I have extra wax. When I wipe my jars out with this, get all the excess wax out of there, I'm gonna stuff that into an empty toilet paper roll too. Be careful not to burn yourself. A little bit hot. Not too bad though. And then my jar's all clean. Let's fix my wick over here. And see the other one fell down. You got some time though. So don't feel like you're in a huge rush. Take your time. It's a little bit fidgety. But you want to make sure that you get it straight. You'll be really happy in the end if you have a candle that that burns all the way down to its end. So you can take a look inside here. Probably poured this one in about 5 minutes ago, and you can see that wax is already starting to set, but it's still warm. It's still warm enough in the center that I can kind of make adjustments if I need to here. That guy's good. See how our can is looking. That's about ready for a next pour. Alright, so I have noticed with this big guy, I don't know what's floating in here, but I don't want to pour it directly into something else. See how it looks like there's like a little, might just be the colors coming together. But I'm going to pour it into this other jar first, just so I can take a look at it. I'm going to see. Oh, he's just not melted all the way. Okay, so those look like just color pigments. Look at that. Cool. It's like a jawbreaker when you're a kid. Remember, you get all the little layers? Alright, so I'll throw that back in the oven. I'm not even sure if I'll use that brown today, but I just wanted to melt it down and kind of see what color I'd be dealing with. Plus, then I can get that other jar cleared out. Okay, so take a look at this paint. It's coming off in one big sheet. Watch this. Look at that. I don't know why that seems really gratifying. Obviously cannot burn that in a fire, so I'm just going to put it on my parchment here to cool, and I'll just end up tossing that in the end. And you can take a look inside here and see what the wax is doing. It's just melting down. So you can, I don't know, can you see all the particles in there, hopefully? There's the tag off the bottom. I'll move this closer. There's the old wick. I'm going to actually pour some of this into one of the molds because I normally don't melt down candles that are this big just because it fills the pot way too much, and I just have this little guy. So I'm just going to gently pour it into one of these molds over here. And then pour it in my candle. This is very risky of me to do without something underneath it, but I'm going to go to town. So this candle is going to be mostly white. See, I made a mess, see? So, and that's okay with me. I'm just showing you. I generally don't do tin can ones. Here's a perfect example. I spilled on the counter. I'm just going to take a plastic scraper to it later. It'll come right off. It won't even be a problem. Alright, so that guy's good. Seems pretty well centered. And I'm thinking that I don't want to have just white. So I'm actually going to put some parchment, some color in here. I have pigments. These are epoxy pigments. I don't use food coloring. You could really use anything, any kind of coloring. I just really like this dark blue. And since that light blue is right there, I just feel like this is gonna look really good with it. So I'm gonna just pour a few drops in. Still fine if you want to use it white. Totally up to you, whatever colors. That's what's nice too, is you can match your decor. You can make your candles any color you want. So there's my blue, nice and dark. I'm gonna pour that into this mold here. I'll adjust the wick afterward. Oh. Turn it so I can get there. I got too much stuff. Alright, here we go. So this is going to be a two-tone candle. It's going to have the light blue on the bottom and the dark blue on the top. Now I always leave a little bit at the top because what's going to happen as this cools is that center is going to suck down to the middle and you're going to end up with a cavity there. So I'm going to use either the same blue or maybe that light blue again, I don't know, I'll see, just to top it off and to make that candle flat, and I'll show you what that looks like in the end. So here is that, it's kind of actually more mauve. I'm going to pour the blue in there. And I'm going to do several layers on this candle, so I'm going to stop there. This guy's starting to get a little bit off center. I think I've got him back on there. Alright, and I'm going to put this back on the oven, on the stove to cook down some more. Let me just show you how easy it is to get this wax off. This is my multi-purpose scraper. So this is from before. It just pops right off. It's really easy. Always use plastic, right, so you don't scratch the countertop. Alright, so this is my last mold that I'm making today. I'm going to pour this in there. And again, I stop about that far because I don't want the gunk to get in there. And I'm going to use this for my fire starter. Alright, that's going to be a great fire starter. Alright, and now we wait. I'll get this wax straight, this wick straight, and now we wait for it to cool so we can. Oh, did I not get this one down all right? Alright, well, good. This is a good opportunity to show you. So, this one I didn't get pushed in enough. While this is still wet, I'm just going to push it right down in there again. No big deal. And even if the top is tilted a little bit, I'm really only looking at what's in the very bottom because that's the only part that's cored. I can adjust the wick higher up later, but if that very bottom part is in the center, we should be good to go. Now that my wax is starting to set, and as you can see, I decided to do one of these in the glass jar. I'm gonna pour my next layer in. As you can see, it's starting to sink down. That's not a problem. I'll just pour the new wax and it will fill that right up. This one I poured more recently, so I'm not going to put any more in there. Okay, so I just want you to look in here for a second and see these wells. This is what I was talking about before. How when it's cooling, sometimes you get these little concave areas. And so a bunch of these have them all around. I have my last bit of wax and I'm just going to fill those up. Once they're completely cooled, always leave a little bit on the top so you can fill those in if you need to. And then this will be the final step. This one looks like it's okay. I'm gonna leave it. Save my wax. And that's it. And I'll just let everybody cool, and then I'll show you what these look like when I take them out. Alright, so now the moment of truth. We're gonna unveil the candles. So come down here and take a look. Sometimes they'll just pull right out. Sometimes I have hot water, just faucet hot water. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try and pull by itself. If it doesn't come right out, put it in the warm water. Doesn't even take very long. So the guy's going. So go. And if some water gets on, it doesn't matter. It's wax. There's the first candle. Pretty cool. Like what that blue did on the bottom. Take a look at this one. So that blue layer is a little bit thin. And this stuff will crack right off. Take it off. See, so this shows me maybe I should have done that blue a little bit darker. I don't mind it though. A little bit thicker would have been good. Okay, so what we've done with the can is I put it into a measuring cup, I boiled up some water, and I've let it sit for a few minutes, and we're ready to pull it out. And there's your tin can candle. And there you have it. So here's all our candles. Just going to trim the wicks, and then we're ready to burn.